I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you only go.
What's going on, guys? Shaking. I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be looking at Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects on his big board, and this is his second variation of this, so he's definitely adjusted since the last time. But before we get into it, please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agree or disagree with that I talk about in this video, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for future NFL content I'm going to be putting out, whether it's about the combine that's this weekend, it's free agency, NFL draft stuff. I'm going to be putting it out daily, so please make sure to subscribe to keep up with all that. So Daniel Jeremiah, this is top 50 players. This is a little bit different than mock drafts because this is just based on what he's seeing. This is a former NFL scout that's been with the Ravens. He usually has very accurate mock drafts based on his sources, but this one's just going to be his 50 players that he thinks are best in this class, regardless of position or who they are, with positional value not being a thing. So jumping in number one, going into it. He has Abdul Carter from Penn State at number one, and I definitely agree with this. I think Abdul Carter is the number one player in this class, in my opinion. His first season that he had as a pure pass rusher at Penn State this year, he was able to pretty much just be dominant and affect every single game that he could possibly could. We've seen it mainly in the playoffs and the college football playoffs when they played against Notre Dame. He pretty much dominated that game, and caused issues for Riley Leonard and that Notre Dame offensive line pretty much every single play. And with this being his first season as a pure pass rusher, he was more of a linebacker before. And they were able to just pretty much put him down there at the edge rusher position, let him go to work. He's kind of like that Micah Parsons type build, and I think he's going to be the best player in this class. I know he had a little bit of a injury discovered at the combine throughout the medicals, but I don't think that's really going to affect his draft stock very much. And he has the perfect size. I think he's probably going to go, in my opinion, he might go number one of the Titans. I depend on what they do. It's really going to be dependent on free agency. I do think number two to the Browns is the least that he goes to because they're going to be trying to replace Myles Garrett, and he's just going to slot in and be kind of like that Micah Parsons, type player for the Browns, where he could drop back in the coverage or he can come in and be one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You could do most of those things, use him for both, kind of like how the Cowboys did. And he's, in my opinion, the best player on the board and the best player in this draft. Number two gets interesting with Travis Hunter. Is he going to be a cornerback? Is he going to be a receiver? What are you going to draft him as? I think it's really going to depend what team drafts him. I think if a team like the Giants or somebody does, he has a chance to be able to go out and be both corner slash receiver. He is obviously on most people's boards and mine that he is the second best player in this class, and this is pretty much how I would have it so far with the top two. He could go anywhere from, I think the Patriots really want him. He could end up, I think he's going to go to the Giants at this point in time until free agency affects us. In my opinion, I think that he needs to mainly play corner and then spot receiver, but they've talked about it being kind of other way around, which could be very difficult. I don't really know how that would work to, play receiver and then spot corner in certain situations. In my opinion, if I was whoever takes him and I'm looking at him, I'm starting him at corner. And I think the Giants would be a good spot for him because they just need overall talent. And now bringing him in at receiver in certain situations, his ball skills, he has one of the best ball skills. That's pretty much why he's such a good receiver at corner. And he's able to just go out and make plays and pretty much lock down whoever he wants. And if I'm using him, I'm spotting him at receiver and using him in jump ball situations, kind of in the red zone. But he's pretty much overall seen as the second best player in this class, and some most people have him at number two, while some even say that he's the best player in this class. Number three, this is where positional value comes into play. He has Ashton Jeanty. He had a historic college season this year. He was number two in the Heisman voting, and in my opinion, I think that he should have been the Heisman Trophy quarterback or Heisman Trophy player this year. But mainly, if you look every single game, he had over 100 yards. He was competing with Barry Sanders to try to get his rushing record. Every single week you look at him, he had some type of highlight where he's breaking off 60-yard rushes. And although I don't think he's crazy above Omarion Hampton, I think that just plays into how good Omarion Hampton is too. But Ashton Jeanty could go very early in this draft. Mel Kiper in his most recent mock draft, he had him going number six to the Raiders. So he could end up going very early, depending on, several teams to the Raiders. Raiders just need more talent. He could end up going to the Bears, depending on what they do in free agency. It really just depends. But Genty's probably one of the best running back classes that or running back prospects that we've seen in a while in the last couple of years. And this is the best running back class that we've had in years. This might be one of the most deepest running back classes we've ever seen. And with him to be that sole number one running back that everybody knows that hey, he's the best running back in this class and one of the deepest running back classes ever. That just pretty much stands out to who he is and how good of a player he is to be number three. And it just shows that in the draft, positional value is really going to be a thing because not usually running backs usually fall a little bit because teams just don't value them as much as other positions. Number four, in my opinion, this is who I would have at three, Mason Graham. He is a little bit undersized at D tackle, but his pretty much his hands make him so good with his ability to pretty much get leverage against guys and be able to shoot his hands underneath them. He's not as big as, your typical D tackle, so he's a little bit undersized, but he definitely makes up for it in his ability to pretty much just control guys with his leverage and his hand placement. He constantly wreaked havoc at Michigan, definitely against the Ohio State game. If you go in and watch that, you'll see him just pop. He didn't necessarily run the 40 today at the combine, but he's going to be going out at pro day, and he's going to be seen as the third best player in this class, in my opinion. And he could go anywhere from the Patriots at four to the Jets at seven. I think that's really the range where he's going to go. And in my opinion, he's the third best player in this class. I would have him one higher, but he definitely just wreaks havoc and causes pressures. He had a ton of pressures at Michigan, and he pretty much just controls the line of scrimmage for whatever team's going to draft him. Number five, Tyler Warren. This is another thing of positional value. Not a lot of people take tight ends in the first round, but Tyler Warren is definitely valuable that he is going to be compared to Brock Bowers quite often because we had a generational tight end prospect last year in Brock Bowers, but he's a totally different player than Brock Bowers. He's more of that hand in the dirt type guy at tight end spot and is going to go out and make a ton of blocks for the defense. He's not going to only affect the game in the receiving end, but he's also going to be out and affecting the running game. So he can block just as well as he can catch. He kind of reminds me of Sam Laporta quite a bit. Obviously, he's a better prospect, and he can be used in multiple ways. A lot of teams, Penn State used him at Wildcat quarterback. He was a quarterback in high school, and they ran the ball with him a lot. And he can be used in pretty much multiple areas. That's how good he is at football, just being a football player. So Tyler Warren at five, I definitely agree with it. I think that's a good spot. Number six is interesting. Him having Jalen Walker. Now, this is a little bit high for me on Jalen Walker. It really just depends how teams see him. I do think that whoever team drafts him going to use him as a pure pass rusher, but he has been seen. He played linebacker at Georgia, so it really just depends how he is and what team drafts him. But he has that great speed and, just a combination of power, explosiveness, and speed that he can use. I think whatever team drafts him, he's definitely going to be an edge rusher. And at Georgia, he was able to put up a lot of good stats over there playing linebacker, and I think he's going to transition well to edge. I do think he's more of a mid first round guy than in the top 10 or at number six, so I would have him down a little bit more. But Daniel Jeremiah seems to really love him, and a lot of analysts and teams from a lot of reports do love Jalen Walker. Number seven, another tight end, Colson Leveland. As you'll see with that this class is very good at a lot of positions that aren't valued very high, like running back and tight end. But Colson Leveland's kind of more that Brock Bowers type build. He's opposite of Tyler Warren. He's more of that slot receiver type guy that's going to line up in the slot and do more receiving targets. Jim Harbaugh was the guy that recruited him when he was at Michigan, so that could be a landing spot for him, but he's more that wing type slot tight end that kind of just goes out and releases immediately, and he's more effective in the passing game. He's a huge target for tight ends, and he's going to be somebody maybe like a Broncos that Sean Payton can use in these situations and help out Bo Nix to be able to be a safety valve for him, to be able to kind of help out with a young quarterback, to just be able to be an easy target for him to get their groove going. Number eight, Will Campbell. I'm not the biggest Will Campbell fan. I think this is very high for him. I'm not. The tackle class is very interesting. It's gonna be interesting Sunday to see how a lot of them test out with a lot of their, you know, physical traits because a lot of them are seen as guards, and the arm length that a lot of them have are going to be the issue. A lot of teams are going to see some of these guys as guards, like Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell, Armand Membu, all those tackles are some of the top tackles in this class. They're going to be seen as guards by a lot of teams. So that's going to cause them to fall. A lot of people like Will Campbell, especially in the NFL sources. I'm not a big Will Campbell guy, in my opinion. I watched the tape. I have done a breakdown on a lot of the first round offensive linemen. So if you haven't seen those, please go and watch those and check those out. But based on mine, he gets beat a lot on the inside. He oversets a lot of guys, and he plays a little bit too high. He does play like a tackle. I will give him that. He just plays like a tackle. You can see how he plays, but he doesn't really play low. He's not a mauler. He doesn't really move a lot of guys. So I'm not the biggest fan of Will Campbell. I think I would have him a lot lower than this at number 8. And if a team tries to play him at guard, I don't think it's going to go very well just because he just doesn't have that play style of a guard. And he just plays too high. He's not a mauler. I know he's been very effective in the SEC. I just don't see it working out for him. But I do think he's going to be a solid starter. I just don't see him being a crazy all-pro type player in the NFL, which might work out for him because a lot of the guys in this draft are kind of like that. So that leads to him kind of going higher than what a lot of people, you know, would in another draft maybe. Number 9 is Jahdae Barron from Texas. This is a guy that's risen up a lot of boards. He could be used in multiple alignments. He could be used outside in the slot, in the box, many different areas. And he's a great man-to-man corner that's gonna go and lock down pretty much anybody. And he's been used a lot of times in blitzing categories. A lot of the guys like Jeremiah and Mel Kiper have him as the number 1 corner in this class, and he's definitely risen up a lot of boards in this area. It's definitely interesting to see how the corners are going to go because a lot of the corners in this class dealt with injury, like Reveal from ECU or Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. They've had a lot of injuries, so Maxwell Harrison's another one that had a lot of injuries at Kentucky. So it really just depends how this is going to go with Jahdae Barron, how teams see him. I think that he could end up going number 1 corner, but I think a lot of the corners are going to end up falling. And if there is a corner that's taken in the first round, I think it's going to be Barron or it's going to be Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky. It's going to be one of those two guys that are more of the healthier guys. So it's really going to see how he stacks up with the other corners and how bad the injuries are for the other ones as well. And then the last one I'm going to be looking at, Cam Ward, number 10. I think it's interesting how he stacks up with the quarterbacks. Obviously, he's the number 1 cornerback in this class by a lot of people, and he's not necessarily the best prospect. I think he is going to go number 1 to the Titans. I think they're going to be looking for a quarterback, but he has all the tools available to him. He just has to go to the right situation that are going to develop him. He has a great arm. He makes great plays. He extends plays very well. Sometimes he tries to do a little bit too much, and he has a lot of turnovers. So one thing that they really need to focus on is him cutting down his turnovers, whatever team drafts him. But if you look at him, he's been in 3 different offenses with 3 different teams in 3 different years, and every single one of those offenses that he's gone into have gone up and gotten better every single year compared to the other way around. Once he leaves, they end up going down. So he definitely is able to make that impact on an offense to make them better. And you've seen that in college. Also, he's been in 3 different systems and he's able to pick them up and gotten better every single year. So he's comfortable picking up an offense very easily, and he's able just to stay calm under pressure. That's something that Shador doesn't really do very well, in my opinion. And I think that he definitely is more fit for NFL play than Shador, just the way he stays calm, able to extend plays, and just make the best out of a bad situation on a lot of plays. And I think he's the number 1 quarterback in this class. I think he's going to end up either going top 5 to one of those QB needy teams. So I'm just going to do the top 10 in this video. Please make sure to like the video, comment down below anything you agreed or disagree with, and make sure to check out the rest of the top 50 of Daniel Jeremiah's big board. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball. Now I never fumble. I'm the MVP. Now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Moran. Need a triple double. Told him check the stats. Yeah, I got a couple.